This is the Lydia and Spin with Lydia Lunch and Tim Doll. Welcome to our Christmas special. Cheers.
Cheers. It's the winter solstice today, which is...
May I salute you with a hot toddy?
Sure.
You know, I always love a hot toddy at this time of the year.
They've helped me a few times.
Tim, I am here to help you.
You are. And we are here to, I don't know, help the audience or infuriate the audience or both or entertain. We've done
Well, it's a difficult time of year anytime, but I think especially this year. It's got to be difficult for some people.
Yeah.
Not for you and me, of course.
Well, you usually, because I'm not a huge fan of the Christmas holiday period.
I love presents, but not on a specific day. I love to give presents. I love to receive them. Every day is my birthday. I don't like these holidays, but some people do. And sometimes it's, people wait so that they could go be with their old friends, their family, their love. I think that this Christmas, you have us. And a lot of you might have only yourself. And I think it would be a really good time to just, after the podcast, sit quietly with yourself and perhaps cogitate and contemplate, or contemplate as I like to say, the so-called failures of this year, but also the benefits. If you don't know what you want, you're not going to get it. And just because you know what you want doesn't mean you're going to get it either, but you might as well at least put some energy out there. And remember, things used to be, before we got so fucking spoiled, like this all the time.
Yeah, I remember one of my more brutal Christmases. I was actually living with Simon, and we were broke. And then guess what happened when I went to go visit my family? My car broke. And then they started turning on me like, you ruined Christmas. Like you, I was like, they're like, well, why don't you get it repaired and stay at a hotel? I was like, well, I have no money. Well, why don't you use a credit card? I have no credit card. And it just started piling up.
Well, also, Tim, look, I have to do a little reveal to the audience here. You probably could have asked any number of people, but you prefer to give than to receive, and that includes even money from people that have it. That's where you and I have a slight difference. I've been trying to wean you off of this for a while.
Well, yeah,
you never refuse money from me, which is what I love.
Oh, nice. Well, I'm not in that super negative vortex anymore.
Well, you should just think of every possible. You should just think of every possible contributor as Lydia Light, and then you'd have no problem, giving and receiving.
Well, fair enough. Well, you've actually helped me with learning how to receive a little bit.
Well, let's not go too deep on that.
In the period of transformation being this kind of zeitgeist, I went through some transformation in terms of learning to receive a little bit.
And look, it's very important. I know that, people, because they've turned the knife inward so long and so often due to patterns that they might not have invented, but they've gotten locked into, have a really hard time. Some people have a hard time both giving and receiving. But a lot of times people that give have a hard time letting it in. And, the thing is, it's usually out of fear that people resist. And I say, you know what? First of all, take it in as deeply as you can, and also realize nothing fucking lasts forever. If you take something in and allow the permanence to be cellular, and also to realize this, look, the feelings you have, whether you're mad in love, crazy in sex, high on drugs, that's your feelings. Other people are just simply the vehicles, and there's a lot of vehicles down there. You just have to hope they don't fucking break down on the way to the finish line.
Boy. Well, that was whatever.
Let's put the X back in Christmas.
It's fine. I mean, one of my solutions up until this year was like, oh, this is what I'll do. Once things started kind of working out in terms of music, I was like, I'm just going to book myself and be so fucking exhausted by the time I have to show up for Christmas. I will enjoy myself with a fucking nice meal and a drink, because so now, of course, I'm just like, in my house, and I guess it's Christmas, but I can't even see my family.
Well, are you cooking a duck?
I'm not cooking a duck, but we were talking about earlier, I should work on my duck cooking technique. I love duck.
Maybe we both need to work on a duck. I was very impressed that you told me you worked on an octopus recently.
Well, that was
but
delicious.
I have to say, Tim, love you as I do, and our friends. After that Thanksgiving dinner, when the first thing I saw was a marzipan fake turkey, and had to wait hours to eat after being ravenous from movies. It was a bit It was a bit strenuous for me.
Well, once the food was served, it was definitely Castle Wolfenstein because everyone went silent and went nuts.
It was delightful. Anyway,
anyhow, so
I'll come over the next time or the first time you cook a duck just to stuff it.
I remember
choking on some duck.
I remember I played a gig once, right December. I was like in Bavaria in Germany, and the venue was right next to a goose farm that they're all getting ready to be decapitated for these meals, and it was a shitload of them. I don't think there are foxes down there. I don't know what hunts those fucking things, but all I know is if I was loading up the car and if I walked too fast to the fence, there'd be like 45 of them that would just in sync shit themselves because they're just terrified by any movement. Maybe they anticipate they're going to be killed, but you just like went close that fence, it'd be like, like all of them at once. It was
Nobody
really insane.
wants a shitty goose or a shitty duck.
Let's talk about our Christmas special here. You know, last time I think it was Christmas special, Lydia made a song music playlist. This year we're kind of stirring it up a little bit with a very eclectic, good and bad, just kind of rando, not rando music list.
Nothing to do with Christmas.
And since we like to make fun of critics so much, we're going to be critics.
And each other occasionally.
Kind of a Siskel and Ebert kind of back and forth on these music selections, our opinions and what they're about, and just
and with
what
no
we
further
think.
Introductions, would you like to introduce this with no further introductions?
The first selection was put out in 1971 by CBC, out of Canada, and it was some kind of field recording of traditional Inuit music. These are kind of throat singers, you know, these phonetic spellings of Inuit. It's like a Christian first name, and this like Rapi is the last name, and then Nelly Nunga.
Can you say that first name again quietly?
Rapi. Yeah, well, I don't know if there's a rolling R. I doubt there's a rolling R.
I'm more of a tongue singer. No, that's not true. I love to, you know, I'm very good with the throat.
So I'd say around 71 is probably some of the last years you can really get a really good field recording of traditional indigenous persons music. So let's listen to listen to this stuff.
I have to say, it kind of reminds me of a frog farm.
Well,
and not that I knew this was coming up, but it actually gave me a tickle in my throat, which I'm gonna have to go clear right now because I don't know if it was just I was intoing the Inuit, but I do have a throat tickle, and you didn't. Did you cause that, Timmy? Tie him up.
It is so bizarre, and I can only imagine.
It sounds like a Jew's harp.
Well, they have that later because there's a different. This is a throat singing thing, and it goes in and out of phase. It's I mean, Rubato's not even the. Well, then they go into this 12/8 kind of triple meter thing. That's almost like, is this Africa? But you know, we're talking about like northern Canada.
Well, if you ask the typical American, they wouldn't know how far an Eskimo was from an African by geographical distance. So
it also sounds kind of modern as fuck on many levels. It sounds, if you listen to a lot of new music,
Maori almost too.
It sounds like fucking a little bit too, because there's not a quantized sense of time, like metric sense of time. It's just kind of weaving in and out, and it's
Tim,
back
I
and
have
forth.
Tim, hang on a second.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever seen you dance. And I'm just wondering what the dance to this might be if you were to do it. Now, you can show me later, or you can show me now.
I think the only way to hear this would probably be
I've never seen you dance. I mean, you've seen me dance, including with your wife and other women.
I think if this was
most men, I don't know why men don't know.
I think if this was, is this performed in an igloo? Is it? I don't think it's out. I don't think it's outdoors. I think this is like.
That's not the question, Tim. The question is, why have I never seen you dance?
You might have.
You got some funk in your pants.
Anyhow, I give this one a thumbs up. I'm not against.
I give it a thumbs up.
I think it stands out.
Absolutely. And again, funny, now that I shut it off, the tickle in my throat is gone. That doesn't mean I'm not going to make you perform a Wild Watusi before you leave my house this evening.
So we're moving.
Speaking of wild.
Well, why don't you give a little intro, because we're moving on to the Betty Davis one.
Well, first of all, Betty Davis, that would be the black goddess who was married to Miles Davis, not also a favorite of mine, Betty Davis, the actress. This is a song, Jim, I wish I could dedicate to all the men in my life, but she dedicated it to Miles Davis. And once you hear the lyrics, it's going to give you a pretty good insight. Betty Davis, highly underrated, much better than Millie Jackson or a lot of these new. Let's hear a
piece of this.
And you know what, Tim? I'm going to dedicate this to you.
Wow, thank you.
He was a big freak. I used to beat him with a turquoise chain. Yeah. When I was his woman, I please him, I need him to the till. When I was his mistress, ooh, I gave him cheap thrills. When I was his princess, silk and satin and lace I'd wear for him. He was a big freak. Flim, flam, floozy fantasy.
Look, any woman that reveals that much in a song. Okay, I'm just going to refer back to myself. And once one of my lovers goes, "Oh, why don't you write a song about me?" You know what the song was called? Your love don't pay my fucking rent. Yeah, what? Be careful what you ask for, as the Sicilians like to say.
Miles was, he had a lot of respect, even in his autobiography, had a lot of respect for her.
How could you not? She was.
This song, well, see, this is interesting because I could see why this would appeal to you. I like it. Before we go any further, I do give it a thumbs up. But it definitely, it's a one chord song. It just, and you know, James Brown does that a lot. And they always say writing a 2-chord song is easier than writing a 1-chord song. Writing a 1-chord song means there's a lot of focus on what's in front there. And so the lyrics, the personality, but it also gives the impression where it starts like, well, has this been going on for an hour already? And then when it fades out, I was like, I think it's going to go on for another 2 hours.
But that's what's great. And that's why often when I'm at your house for one of those rare parties, not happening too often anymore, you know the look in my eye. And actually, the look in my eye relates to the next song. And then we're going to go back into the details of what I'm holding out until we preview this next atrocity.
We're going on to the next one. Well, we both give the Betty Davis one a thumbs up.
I mean, thumb up your ass, honey. I hope that feels good. Do it.
All right. So I'll do the intro to
the a big
freak. Yes. Yeah. That one wins. All right. So the next one was a #1 hit in the world. I didn't even realize. I mean, I'd heard it so many times.
Which does not surprise me because there are so many fucking idiots on this planet.
In 1985.
And by the way, 38% of Americans believe in QAnon.
So this is Phil Collins' housewife ballad, "One More Night" from No Jacket Required. Now, a little background on Phil Collins before people just like barf. You know, he's famous for his solo work. He's famous for
not showering for a year, not brushing his teeth for a fucking year.
Well, that's where it's going on now. But
being on pain pills, not having a hard on.
Well, sure.
Tell me some more.
he's also a incredible drummer, and he worked with not just solo and Genesis, Brand X, John Cale, Brian Eno, Eric Clapton,
By the way,
Led
Tim,
Zeppelin reunion, Elton John.
Tim,
Yes,
I did see Genesis twice as a teenager in Rochester, New York.
that was
I did see The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, and I have to say it was amazing. I don't know what
that was a Peter Gabriel fronted,
but it was
Phil's on drums. Yes,
it was great because it was very kind of future forward, just about like the hideousness of the human race. Anyway, Phil Collins' face is enough to make me want to pull a fucking Cassius Clay on it.
All right, so
There's something about him that just crawls up my fucking ass. You know, him and Paul Simon are just two skanks. That
I think Phil Collins is a probably better person if you're going to judge it on people, but
Well,
I don't know.
yeah, hey,
I don't know.
Hang on. I've been reading, not that I trust his ex-wife or future ex-wife who won't leave his Miami palace. Didn't shower for a year, didn't brush his teeth for a year, on pain pills, no hard on.
So revisiting this, we're about to play it. Because when I experienced as a kid, it would be in the back seat with a mom driving us around with a friend, and she would have it on volume 1.
I have to say, I've never heard this song.
And so when it's a volume 1, you can just hear just kind of the words, kind of the melody, and cymbals. And then it's like, okay, I had to look at it from another angle. Crank it. What's that about?
Okay.
And it's very.
Okay.
Let's hear.
All right, play this
Let's
piece
hear
of
this one.
shit. What made this balding turd think he was going to persuade, and I guess he did, suburban moms by crooning One More Night when if they would have known he couldn't fucking get it up, they would have said, not one more second, you fucking freak. Get the fuck out of here.
If you look at his lyric, the history
look at his face.
If you look at the lyrical content historically, it's all about begging women to come back, and the women always leave him. He's worth like $300 million, but they keep on leaving him.
He must be a stingy motherfucker, and besides, with a face like that, that's why they make pillowcases.
So on this recording, so basically Phil is doing it's a Rowland 808. He's playing DX7 keyboard, that Bell keyboard, doing the vocals, obviously. You have the legendary Leland Sklar on bass, who does an incredible interpretation.
Really, nobody gives a shit about this but you. Because I've heard you play not only Phil Collins, Don Henley, and other...
Well, that's to make people mad. But
you know what? It always works on me, Tim. But as Simon recently said, oh, Lydia, the podcast is turning into a love fest. I'm like, well, Simon, maybe you and I need to have a fucking talk.
Don Henley at 45 on an LP is better, but doesn't. Don Myrick from Earth, Wind, and Fire plays that kind of smooth jazz solo at the end. Oh, hold on, I got
tie it up, Timmy.
Well, you have to see what angle you want to see. So
you know what I want for Christmas?
Based on the intention,
a roll of duct tape for you.
Based on the intention, I think he succeeds. I mean, also if you look at the Christian Bale American Psycho angle, which I think this song is played as he's torturing women.
Slow down.
No, this is
because you know. I love American Psycho.
Yes, and the character that Christian Bale plays, what's his name again in the movie or the book or both? He's
Bateman.
He's
Patrick
Bateman. He's really into No Jacket Required, this album, and I think as he's massacring a woman, I think One More Night is being played.
Stop right now. That's enough of that crap. I don't give a shit. Look, I like an occasional ballad, and I have to say, I really like ballads when they're done by Volta, which is one of my favorite bands that I've ever seen live. There's just something I don't understand how a band that is so psychedelic, has songs that are so long, that have lyrics. One of my favorite lyricists that are so obscure and so weird, so psychedelic, got as big as they did. It's absolutely, the whole thing about Mars Volta is a mystery to me. And this song, which I came to very late in the game, but I was obsessed with it at one point for months and almost had a frickin' breakdown to it. Don't ask me why, because don't even ask me what the song is about. Could be about addiction, lost love, heroin, or just Mexican magical realism. And the video to it is like Jodorowsky could have directed it. And anyway, now quiet down, kids.
Let's hear it.
The Widow.
He's got fasting black lungs made of clove splintered shards.
I'm almost gonna cry.
They're the kind that will talk through wheezing of cars. And I hear him every night in every pore, in every time it just makes me laugh. Without an answer, free from all the shame. Must I hide? 'Cause I'll never sleep alone. Look at how they flock to him from an isle of open source. He knows that the taste is such to die for.
What's so mysterious also about that song is, like, first of all, at the drive-in, hardcore, Mars Volta, just there's no even terming what they are. They're kind of like an updated Santana meets Jimi Hendrix meets, I don't even know what.
Well, I would say Santana meets Jimi Hendrix meets the Doors minus the vocal sound, and they would be the first to admit it because I did my research on this, especially with that album Cygnus with all these movements. Rush is a huge influence on this, and also, you know, they would be the first to be into Phil Collins. You know, the El Paso boys. Child Abuse played in El Paso
I'm not
once.
gonna hold that against them.
The Prague, the Mexican American community there has a huge loyalty to Magma.
Okay, before I forget,
King Crimson. It's a huge
did you know
prog
that
scene going down there.
Scarface, the rapper, was really into Rush. And also, did you know that Beto O'Rourke was in a band with Cedric?
Okay.
Very weird. But anyway, I'm just going to go back and
go for it.
talk about Mars Volta. Like, first of all, a ballad that is so weird. Something is so, to me, heartstring pulling about it. You don't even really know what he's talking about. The video is just a beautiful, weird movie. It's just something that really suckered me into that. I just love the Mars Volta. And to me, when I first heard him, which was late to the game, I felt like the way I feel, or the way I felt when I was a teenager and heard something. And then seeing them and having them invite me to all tomorrow's parties and then actually recording something with Omar Rodriguez was just, and then they just disappeared out of my life forever. Please,
Well, it's
please
interesting
come back,
because
boys.
people would think, because I can play all the fusion and the prog rock stuff. I come from a lot of that, so. Yeah, I didn't really know them that well because when they came out, I was more into maybe the avant-garde and I'm checking it out. And well, as a bass player, the fretless bass work on this song is pretty great. Juan Alderete is his name. He's a big guy in L.A. who's played with a lot of the heavyweights. In fact, he played with Paul Gilbert, who was in Racer X, who was a really cheesy L.A. kind of technical hard rock band. Paul Gilbert went on to play with Mr. Big, who opened for Rush.
Tim Dahl, you do know everything about everything, which is why I love you.
Well, I don't know everything about everything, but one thing I kind of connected the dots on with this, and these boys being from El Paso, is where it's not Rush. Because, again, there's all these references by the words to like old Rush stuff, and where it's not prog rock is the soul and the pocket to what is essentially a slow tempo waltz. Now, the thing about mariachi bands is that basically it's coming from Austrian military bands. That's why they're playing tubas and brass. And I mean, of course, it evolved into its own thing. And the waltz, the German waltz, the Viennese waltz is a major foundation to Austrian military bands, which is totally connected, especially with northern Mexican stuff. So there's just a lot of stuff in there. I can hear it, and it's there.
Well, thank you very much, and I do appreciate all that insight. Now,
Right, so I'm moving on to the next one.
Thank you very much.
So this next one's by New Order from Manchester, who were the spin-off band of the famous Joy Division.
Which, by the way, I did really like Joy Division, and it's not just because a beautiful teenage spastic boy did dreadful things to himself, but I really did like Joy Division. I have to say, I really can't stand New Order.
Well, I wanted to go on our little wrath after we hear it. So this song, Touch by the Hand of God.
First of all, do they believe or don't they believe?
So New Order kind of, after Joy Division, they put Bernard Sumner as a lead singer. Why? I don't know. And then they tried to appropriate the clubber New York scene, which was kind of really much kind of driven by the African American New York club scene, Bronx to downtown.
I see no relation, but go ahead.
Well, they basically took their huge cash advance and spent it on the latest digital sequencing and synthesizers of the time. And now,
they should have spent it on just replacing the entire band with talented people.
We're going to listen to the music, but if you want to check it out further, check out the video, because the video, they're making fun of hair metal. This is made in '87.
Okay, can we roll
and they're
with it?
dressed up as Motley Crue, basically. Let's hear
it. Even more atrocious.
I think we need to stop this already. This is,
Well, I'm kind of getting into it all
all
of a sudden.
right, check it out. I mean,
look, first of all, I can't stand, and this is also my problem with, and I love Eminem. I can't stand music that sounds, and I have to use a British word for it because twee. I can't stand music that sounds like it's made on children's instruments. I can't stand music that sounds artificial, that sounds like it's bad early synth. I think that Dr. Dre did an incredible disservice to most of Eminem's songs, but then occasionally pulls a great one out, like 3 a.m. in the morning, etc., Stan, etc., Lose Yourself, etc., and I could go on. But I think that the music of Eminem was ruined because a lot of it was just too teeny bop, too twee.
Well, this is not about Eminem, and Dr. Dre tried to filter it through these tapes.
Hey, you think I didn't want to play?
Give me a second to
play.
Give me a second to rip
3
on.
a.m.
I want to rip on New Order for a second because
please do.
I have a top 10 least favorite bands, and it's not about like necessarily who's the worst band, but it's based on clout relative to what people think. New Order's now on that list for me. I mean, Bernard Sumner cannot hear pitch. Now, I'm okay with bad singers who can't hear pitch, but he's like trying to sound good. It's really weird. But the video, they're making fun of glam metal, which is just moron music. And then they're coming out with this, like, look how smart, and it's so condescending with the most. It doesn't garbage.
It wasn't good at the time, and it certainly doesn't age well.
It doesn't age well at all. And lastly, there's this kind of pretentiousness, like, oh, I can't believe people gave us $1 million to make this song.
All right, okay.
I'm really bummed out. I have to try.
I gotta cut this off. Timmy, tie it up. Okay.
New Order sucks.
Let's.
I could go on forever about how much that sucks.
Yeah, but you're not going to.
All right. So we're gonna.
This is not the retrovirus van. All right. I've got my tricks for quieting that down. Okay. Let's get into something ballsy, soulful, something you probably have to weigh 300 pounds to wrap your mouth around. Or, in this case, they probably both weighed 300 pounds and they were wrapping their mouths around a subject that probably a lot of people right now are feeling that they've been stuck in their own personal, private, insane asylum. This is Koko Taylor and Willy
is that where
Dixon. Yes, it is now. Here we go.
To the insane asylum, and I found my baby out there. I said, please come back to me, darling. What in the world are you doing here? Then the little girl raised up her head. Tears were streaming down from her eyes. And these are the things that the little girl said. When your love has ceased to be, Lord, have mercy.
I mean, that's what I'm talking about, you know?
Well, unfortunately, it was the
Collard green soul. Something that just, it's in the blood.
Well, unfortunately, it was the skinny Brit boys with wigs that bankrupted Willie Dixon. And they basically, literally, whether it was Led Zeppelin or the Stones, well, with Led Zeppelin's really who bankrupted him. He tried to take him to court, and they're basically like, and the Brits were basically like, boys, don't worry, this guy's doesn't have deep pockets, and we're gonna stall this thing until he runs out of fucking money, and he won't get a cent.
Yeah, well, typical fucking music business bullshit. What can I say?
Well, so you know, Koko Taylor, Willie Dixon, obviously not just as a bass player and singer, classic blues songwriter, and this is Chicago blues, which, you know, even though Willie's from Mississippi originally and she's from Memphis, it's suddenly, we're not outdoors, it's not the Delta, there's not acoustic guitar, you're in freezing cold Chicago winters and this low ceiling basement, and the windows are steaming up,
steamy,
and it's electric suddenly, and
everyone's drinking their fill.
This is
what year?
Oh, that track, crap. I didn't do my research on that one.
I mean, just in general, when was really the explosion of Chicago basement blues?
Well, there was two explosions. So you had, well, for instance, like Howlin' Wolf, I think, oh God, I don't want to kill myself here, but I think it's like late 50s,
okay,
mid 50s. He comes up from as being a farmer in, I could be wrong on the years, but this is definitely the story. Cotton farmer, comes up to Chicago. This is before the British invasion. And he's like, you know what? This isn't fucking working. You know, people came up for work. He went back, and we're not talking about Willie Dixon, we're talking about Howlin' Wolf, but it's the same story basically. Then it is the Rolling Stones. You know, as much as we want to rip on them, it is the Rolling Stones that suddenly people are like, wait, this guy's kind of important. And then, so there's a second wave of Chicago blues that happened again in the late 60s and 70s.
This is the divide here, is that a lot of British bands came and loved the blues, then ripped them off, and took all the money and took all the ideas. Thank you, Keith Richards.
Well, I mean,
and Led Zeppelin.
They recorded, the Stones recorded with the Chess Records studio. They would go to Chicago because the English engineers didn't like putting it in the red. It was analog. They're like, no, you can't go in the red. The needles, meaning, and they're like, and then we went to Chicago. They're like, it sounds better when you put it in the red, and so they went there for that sound. But yeah, what are you going to say about that? I mean, it's authentic, it's sincere, and it's a foundation to American music.
All right,
Popular music.
let's take it somewhere else now.
All right, so the next one is...
You were mentioning waltzes earlier, but this is called Waltz Rondo.
So the famous American composer Charles Ives, and this recording is from a series called The Unknown Ives, and this is from Volume 2, performed by Donald Berman on piano, and it's called Waltz Rondo. It's like a 5-minute piece. I highly recommend this one. 1911.
Tim, you and I share somewhat of a love for. I love the piano. There are other, some people can't stand it, but I love the piano.
Come on.
Well, what's interesting about this track is it's kind of gay, but kind of dark as well. It's like gay and dark.
Well, I don't know how gay it is, but it could be. I don't know, but
it's no.
Charles
like,
Ives wasn't gay, but
no,
it doesn't matter.
I mean, happy. It's kind of like
Oh,
up, kind of up,
Oh,
but then it's dark.
it's
kind of
so dark because
creepy,
well,
and
it's atonal. It's the main theme is touching on kind of ragtime, but you're dealing with 12-tone music, lots of dissonance, lots of clusters, super modern. Now, a lot of times people say Charles Ives was the godfather of postmodern. No, he's pre-modernism. And these were just ragtime and American themes were just tools for him to express a lot of the pitch and harmony and rhythm ideas. So I'd like to talk about
what's interesting for a minute, just because we're watching this on YouTube, and they just have a picture of the album cover called The Unknown, but somebody then has fog drifting over the cover, and it really adds to the vibe of it, I have to say. I'm digging
so
this.
when it comes to playing Ives, and I've heard and even seen performances, rhythmic accuracy and precision is essential because it's so sophisticated with its rhythm. Although during the main theme, there's a little rubato, which I give David a little, or
you were just thinking
Donald Berman.
Okay.
I give him a little room on that one. I prefer Herbert Hank from Germany's version, but it doesn't matter. It's still awesome. But lastly, and this is the thing about interpretation with like quote unquote classical pre-composed or already written music. What are you judging? It's interpretation at that point. If the material's really good, I mean, the material is so fucking badass.
What's interesting is it really does seem like this would be parlor music when a fog was coming into your house and you don't exactly know what that cloud is bringing. Because it could be like a cool evening shrouding, or it could really be something quite ominous that's lurking under that.
I recommend this. Again, this is 1911. Of course, Paris was the hot spot at the time. And so here's this guy in America, he's from Connecticut, that was just writing this he was not even, he became rich later through insurance. But at the time, he was a kid, 1911. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's awesome.
I think it's beautiful. Well, this next track, I think it's what a lot of us might be doing, not only this Christmas Eve and Christmas night, but maybe well into the next year, which is called Sleep Alone. And it's one of my favorite songs by my favorite ghost, Rowland S. Howard. It's just one of the most devastating, well, he was one of the most devastating guitar players and songwriters. And this is it's just painfully beautiful. With no further ado.
show you nothing. I'm a misanthropic man.
Tim, anything you want to
Well,
address about the Rowland S.
Well,
Howard?
Rowland S. Howard. So, what's interesting about this track? It sounds live, even though it seems to have been recorded in the studio. But it somehow it's hard to capture the live spirit in the studio for all of us that know how uptight and sterile studios can feel sometimes when you're performing. And so it really captures that. I don't know exactly how it was recorded. It definitely has this sort of like some of the earlier takes that we're listening tonight, a singular trajectory where you don't know where it's going to really fall off. Maybe even like Betty Davis a little bit. Although Betty Davis is a 1-chord song, this is a 2-chord song. It's back and forth, this kind of yo-yo, but with a singular trajectory.
It's from his album Teenage Snuff Film, and one of his best recordings, I think, that he ever did. Almost every song he ever recorded. I was listening to actually a track we did sometime in the 90s. I don't even remember what album it's on, called Cisco Sunset the other day. And it's so sparse and so spectral. I mean, it's so haunting. And the thing about Rowland's playing was, which is very hard for guitar players, as we both know, playing with one of the most complex guitar players, that would be Weasel Walter, the only man that can cover every guitar player I've ever worked with, including myself. The hardest thing is to be sparse, and every note mattered to Rowland, and that's why he has these riffs, which are, the hardest thing is to write, correct me if I'm wrong, the hardest thing is to write a catchy, simple riff that is not stupid.
Well, that's why I was talking about Betty Davis earlier, the gospel tradition. Has this been going on for an hour already? Because it kind of doesn't really matter about what's being expressed and when the phrases come out and when they're spaced, because it's almost like ad-libbing, like you would see in a church.
And the longer the better. And for instance, this track is 7 minutes and 37 seconds because it should be. That just should be. And
of course, there's this cacophony that comes at the end, this noise, orchestra.
It's like a blood cleanser. It's almost like it cleans the rust out of your blood. When I hear Rowland S. Howard, it's like cleans the rust out of the blood.
So when I hear a piece like this, the first thing I'm jumping into, especially if I'm being a critic, I am giving a critique, sorry, is, okay, what's the motivation? What's the goal? Are they achieving it? And I would say, yes, Rowland's achieving what Rowland wanted to do.
Absolutely. He did because he was he was so economical. Not his lifestyle, of course, but his guitar playing and his songwriting. I think he pretty much almost always absolutely hit the frickin' mark.
What year was this?
That I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. Let's just put it this way. It's forever urgent to investigate some of Rowland S. Howard's classics.
And talk to me about the lyric content in this song.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, also, Rowland was so incredibly romantic. First of all, I don't think he ever met a woman he didn't fall in love with immediately. And his lyrics and just his whole aesthetic with his three-piece suits kind of reflected that. I'm gonna actually pull up some of the lyrics because I think they're pretty.
Well, because I think lyrics are a major part of this. If that was my interpretation.
I'm just gonna quote a few of the lines. First, I shut down the stars because you said they ruled us. Then I took out Mars. He was the cruelest. His lover followed suit by way of suicide, and the others stood there silent. And I dealt out peace of mind. Shut me up, shut me down, stop me if you can. My love, I'll show you nothing. I'm a misanthropic man. I mean, what more needs to be said?
Do you think this was ad-libbed, or was it?
No, his lyrics were not ad-libbed. No.
No,
this is a journey to the edge of the night. I've got no companions, only Celine's on my side. Talking about a journey to the end of the night.
Yes, the writer.
Don't need nothing from no one. The needle's in the red, nothing to lose. Everything's dead. It was very tragic and very romantic. It's a beautiful song. I don't think we need to go on about it. People should just go and find teenage snuff films.
No, because when I was talking about ad lib, obviously the material was worked out before.
Oh, absolutely.
But I'm talking about going back to
he
just
played
like
every song he played. I mean, pretty much. He knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah, no, that's
and
not
the lyrics too.
That's not what I'm getting at. I'm just talking about. I'm talking about
because it sounds.
I'm talking about music structure and form, and going back to the Betty Davis and talking about the gospel tradition of basically like if you have a sitting bed, whether it's a 1-chord song, 2-chord song that just kind of just there's a trajectory, the straight line, and then there's freedom to where you bring out the lines, the phrasing. I'm just curious.
It was more
was the form worked out, or you just kind of like
more
intuitively like brought them out when it was time?
More structured than it appears, especially if you think it sounds ad-libbed in live. Absolutely structured.
Well, I think it could be both. I'm sure it was. Yeah.
I know how he worked. So, and that is the beauty of it. It's not casual guitar playing or songwriting, but it was so intrinsically him that's just the way it came out. All right. Now, speaking about something that means nothing to no one.
So we are going on to Ying Yang Twins. The song's called Say I, Yai Yai. And it's from their album, The Return of the Ying Yang Twins from 2002. They are from Atlanta, and they were turned out to be very successful in the whole crunk movement. And strangely enough, they were first kind of brought in on the corporate mass distribution scene via Britney Spears.
What? They were brought in on
not from her. That was when, like,
you know what? I think Britney Spears could use someone backing her up right about now. That is up against the wall, other than her dad.
It was on the forefront of that whole thing about like the trajectory of hip hop being like street to like MTV, like Run DMC to like something else, and then but at this point,
they know Wu-Tang Clan.
Well, at this point, you had all these stage mom products from like Disney shows that were like Justin Timberlake, we're street yo. So they're basically they're going into Atlanta and getting these producers.
Timberlake is a cul-de-sac.
It's garbage. I get it.
Fucking lily
That
pads.
is not the point about this song. I'm talking about what their break was. It was Little John and Britney Spears, and they went on to do their own thing. My brother's friend's mom grew up on the block of the Ying Yang Twin Boys, and she was basically like,
"Oh, how bad was that block?"
I don't know.
Not at all.
I don't know. But it wasn't like rich or anything either, by any means. But no, there no.
Hey, well, Scarface took me to his hood once. I'm like, hey, yeah, I wish I would have lived in your hood.
Her response was, "These guys made it." What? But
look,
let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Hang on a second. I know that you do, like I do, enjoy some good rap music. Now, I'm not saying this is an example of that.
This is something.
So, Yin Yang, what are you gonna do 2 years after Whistle While You Twerk?
She got her hands on her knees and then her bows on her thigh. She like to twerk and that's for certain cause I can see how she fly. She got me hype, I wanna bite it right now, yeah, yeah. Say, ah, yeah, 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 yeah. Look at y'all snap, make that ass clap. Niggas in the club spinning dudes when it's fat. Thinking real fine, standing 5'9", high heels on, right on time. Goddamn, look at y'all that she making that ass tickle. I like the way it wobbly when it wiggle. Anybody down for my nursery rhyme riddle. Somebody told me for the screaming in the middle.
Shaking ass and getting paid because she making her cheeks. She ain't scared to get on the floor to show her ass and titties. If she doing it quite right, I might just give her 50. I've been drinking Hennessy, so I'm down a tipsy. I know them hoes in the club ain't twerking for free. If she dancing like she should, she'll make her money. I like the freaky ass hoes too nasty for me.
I like it more than I thought I would, because you know me. I mean, I am into murder rap, but it almost reminds me, one of my favorite rappers is Mystical, because he is like the James Brown of rap. Not only that, he was Afghan war veteran who came back and did,
So
shake that thing, show me what it's all about. Danger. I mean, some of my favorite songs are from Mystical. I love Scarface.
I kind of forgot about
I like Crunk.
I kind of forgot about Ying Yang Twins. Dave Budden
Wu-Tang
sent me this again. You remember this one? And so I had to analyze it. It's like, okay, first of all, first impression, like because I knew about Ying Yang Twins back in the day. I was like, well, this music's for strip clubs. Really. But then it's also for kids. It's really immature.
And, you hear a lot of dirty talking in there. So, but probably the kids don't look up the lyrics like we do.
Well, like when Ozzy Osbourne reflects on Black Sabbath, he's like, well, we wanted to make rock and roll that sounded like a horror movie. And so, I'm thinking Yin Yang Twins, like, let's make rap music that's for the strip club, but it's also for kids. Now,
I have to jump in for a minute. The saddest song ever that was played in strip clubs. No, I'm just talking as a cocktail waitress.
Yes.
Patsy Cline.
Oh boy, that's a
Patsy.
Is that the end of the night to kind of like bitch slap the pimp bitch slap on the strippers, like you get in your place? Because that's heartbreaking.
I've erased the exact song from my head because it was so. Oh yeah, Crazy. That's the song. Oh God, it's come back in.
So I'm gonna do a quick analysis.
Crazy for loving. Oh please, yeah. You're crazy for loving the fucking money out of that big fat asshole's back pocket. Nothing.
I'm gonna do a quick analysis of this song, so I was really checking it out. So you got this.
I was kind of digging it.
You got this 808 drum machine kind of thing. It starts out with this kind of monophonic reference to ragtime piano, totally different key, and then it goes into this minor pentatonic kind of like Black Sabbath, this kind of like sequence, and of course it's in the style rhythmically and whatever lyric wise, kind of like Southern rap of the time. And then at the very end, there's this, and I always love novelty at the end of particularly short pieces of music where you can like throw out this random thing at the end that's like kind of cool as shit.
Tim, I have to ask you this.
Yes.
Now I know you've just finished recording your own solo album. I don't know when it's going to hit, but I'm very interested in.
Yes.
You said there were a few skits in between the tracks.
Well, that's
a la rap skits of you. I don't even know what, but this is very
fights in the studio. But that's for the CD release only, which is kind of connected with the hip hop thing of like maxing out the CD and just filling it up. But that's a different.
Okay, I just thought I'd get that in there.
That's something else.
You know the cover I'm at. I'm not going to go on. Tim showed me a picture of him, I don't know where he got it from, that looked like a Confederate soldier crossed with Roman Polanski. And it was rather seductive, yet somehow also terrifying. I was voting for that for the cover.
For the cover.
I think I've been outvoted, whatever. I'll have my own cover for your CD.
Thank you. I'm going to finish up the Yin Yang Twins. I think I like it a lot. I like the analog synth glissando that constantly happens. And the drum machine hand clap thing that's not quantized at the end. Very bizarre ending of this song. NPR did their best songs of the year, and I went through it, and I fucking grabbed one.
This is Tim's recommendation from NPR. And hang on. I'm going to finish introducing this. It just goes to show you, as I always like to say, how dumb do you have to fucking be? Because Soccer Mommy, Circle the Drain, official music video, over 1 million views. All right, here you go, Timmy, tie it up. Let's hear a little of this piece of absolute fucking dung.
some of the most banal.
You know what? That is worse than having a Molotov cocktail inserted in my delicate camellia.
If you look at the video, and
I'd rather not.
It's a classic.
Okay, Tim.
Kind of like, oh, I've suffered so hard.
All right, that's enough.
I've never suffered in my life.
All right. You know what?
It really sucks. Gabe Wax produced it. You know, and this is so funny about these things. They try to throw these kind of little like cool trinkets of production to be like, we got cred here. It's utter
stop
garbage.
Right there.
But it was in an NPR.
I don't give a
top
shit.
40.
Nobody listens to that crap except for you. All right. You just spoke about a few things I want to address here. Oh, cred. Oh, production. And oh, Black Sabbath. Now, hang on. I'm talking, to quote Farrakhan, if I must.
I hate soccer, mommy. I'll say that.
I know you do. And you love to irritate me. And you know what? Next time you do it with a... I was going to say it.
I had to dig deep.
You know what?
I had to dig deep.
You weren't digging deep enough. Otherwise, you would have
right.
titillated me instead of irritated me.
Fine.
All right, hang on. Calm down. Tie it up, Timmy. Let me repeat myself, if I must. You mentioned a few things. Production, cred, and Black Sabbath. I was invited to contribute a track for a compilation produced by Tanya Pearson, who's been making the oral history of women in rock for quite a few years now. And she was inviting people that she's documented to record a song. She was playing all of the music for all the other acts, but I said, you know what? I think Weasel, Walter, and I need to do War Pigs. Now, I've done I've done a whole cover album called Under the Covers. I've always loved to do covers. I'd like to twist them around, even though I'm quite traditional. But how do you falsetto Ozzy? So I had to take it in a totally different direction. And that would be a even more satanic direction. And Weasel plays everything.
I have my own interpretation. Let's hear it.
Mixed everything, mastered everything, is the master of many things.
Hear it. Let's hear it.
We're closing out. This has been the Lydia and Spin.
We're not done because we're going to listen.
Yes,
We're going to make comments on this.
No, we're not.
I am.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, dude, critique me.
So this one, I'll have to break the rule. This one was not picked by me, and now at first it's like, well, there's a conflict of interest. This is Weasel, Walter, and Lydia Lunch, and I have to critique it. I'm kind of being pushed against the wall here.
Dare you.
And I have to be honest, and I'm not giving lip service.
Hey,
I actually love this one, and so War Pigs has been covered by a lot of people, and this might be the best cover I've ever heard.
Thank you, Tim.
I
have to
Faith
say,
No More had a famous one, and there's been a few other
let me just say my
bands
dilemma in
that
recording
did
this.
it.
This was my dilemma. Of course, Weasel had no dilemma playing everything and presenting a fantastic version, but I'm like, I can't do it like Ozzy. How am I going to do it? So I had to go more a la my
You
Black
went Phyllis Diller on this one.
I had to go more Black Juju.
It was
Phyllis Diller.
It was a dialogue. It was basically
a dialogue within
it was basically Ozzy, and then you come with a comeback. It was hilarious, and then of course it's done with drum machine. I mean, it is for me hilarious in a good way. It's insanely entertaining.
We're discussing perhaps Blackest.
But you know,
hang on. We're discussing, that would be Weasel, Walter, and I, perhaps Blackest Sabbath. But my problem is, what's interesting about Black Sabbath at that period is they were very minimal in parts of their music, and nobody else was minimal at that time. Like, the riffs are really minimal, and then the guitar solos come in.
Well, the Black Sabbath, so that was always the thing. It's like, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin's like, okay, Led Zeppelin's got a better band, quote unquote, but with they have a fucking expiration date. It's sour milk.
Well,
Black Sabbath actually ages pretty well. But this is where I'm going to answer your own question. How do I approach Ozzy? And this is why I was kind of impressed how you pulled it off. How do you go so lowest common denominator and still penetrate and be clever, and somehow you manage to get that material and cut through? I mean, well, because that usually equals dollars, like lowest common denominator and be smart enough. And we'll see if this equals dollars.
Back to Blackest Sabbath. The only issue I have is they had so few good songs, mainly from the first and second album. After that, I really lost interest.
I love Sabotage. I love that album.
That would be you. You cover that one.
It.
What I'm saying is, we might have to take some songs and stretch the fuck out of them. But the lyrics are amazing. And this song, Ozzy, we know, has been brain damaged probably since birth. This song rocks, and we're closing out on it because this has been the Christmas special with Lydia Lunch and Tim Dahl on the Lydian Spin. Tune in next week because we have a special New Year's kind of party online event with various previous guests. Lori Barbero is going to be on, Donita Sparks, Ron Athey, Kid Congo, various other, Weasel Walter. It's just going to be a party, hopefully in your pants, Tim.
Hopefully.
And I'm coming, honey, and I'll be the one coming. This is from the Lydia and Spin with Lydia Lunch, Tim Dahl, and Merry Christmas. Except like massive, not in my cover, lay down. Evil minds plot destruction. Goddess, sorcerers and death destruction. Take away. In the fields, bodies burning. The whole world is on fire. The war machine keeps turning as it ever was. Death and hatred to mankind. Poison in the brainwash mind. False rules. Sanctimonious bullshit. Man's ignorance and fear leads to violence, which is a cancer that needs to be cut out. Politicians had themselves away. They've only started all wars. Why should they go out to fight? They leave that all to the poor, yeah. Time will tell what power minds making war is a form. Treating people just like pawns and chess. Wait till their judgment day comes. Yeah. Now when darkness will stops turning, that would be your world when you're righteously snuffed out. Where the body's burning, the one tied to a stake this time. No more war pigs have the power. The power you think you possess will return. And the goddess struck the hour. Time is that, motherfucker. You will be punished for all your life. Day of judgment, goddess calling. Will be judged harshly. On the knees, war pigs crawling. I'm begging mercies for this. Beg all you want, it's not gonna save you. Satan laughing spreads her wings.